I get why this situation occurred, because there is a time and a place for jokes, and we were way off on the time and the place. The place was TikTok Live. That was not the place. That was a private time joke. The time was literally the day Quiet on Set was released, and we hadn't watched it. So we were way off on time and place. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the pod. Got a solo episode for you today. Just me talking to you. Today, I kind of want to talk about the past month and a half of my life and some things going on in my public life and private life and getting canceled and Quiet on Set and just kind of some thoughts that are swirling around all this. And before I start, I want to say, speaking on the internet sometimes is so strange because part of connecting with people in real life is meeting people where they're at. If someone's in front of me and I'm talking to them, I'm going to meet them where they're at. And based on the level of kind of like reciprocity that we have together, that's going to dictate how much we can connect. And if I don't feel a ton of reciprocity there, that we're both kind of meeting each other where we're at and getting somewhere and connecting and, you know, bouncing thoughts back and forth. If I don't feel that, then I'll probably pull away. But it's something in real life, like this is how you connect with people, is meet people where they're at. Yeah, you're where you're at as well, but that's a part of it, right? Speaking on the internet, it can be it can be such a fucking briar patch because there's polarizing issues. So when people get polarized, there might be 10 different feelings about what we're talking about, and what I might say to someone who feels some type of way would be different than maybe talking to like you audience members, right? Like there's different ways to speak to people based on where they are at. And that is a tricky thing on the internet when people are demanding you speak to their belief, right? Their reality. You must address my reality. Yeah, I mean, if you meet someone in real life, like, you know, that's a really hard position to be in. If someone's like demanding, you must meet me only where I am at. You must come all the way to my feelings and beliefs. Like, well, all right. I mean, really, that's just gonna leave you pretty isolated if you're acting that way. But today, I'm just letting you know I am speaking to you, audience members of Growing Up, people who have listen to me talk and have an idea of who I am. The people who follow and subscribe to this podcast, you guys, I'm gonna speak to you today as I kind of work through some of these thoughts and share some of this with you. In my experience, personal pain, it is rarely solved externally. Very rarely. Like, you're setting yourself up for failure if you need the outside world or somebody else to be accountable for your pain. If that's what you need for your healing, you're just setting yourself up for failure. Like, I've been going through some things personally this past fall and winter. Some really deep, complicated processes of entering my adult life with some pain that I carry from like childhood and teenage years and my parents' divorce and just where I find myself in my life. I've been going through this really like private struggle that nobody can heal for me. Literally nobody. It is a journey that I have to take and it's vulnerable, and it can be isolating, and it's hard. It's hard to hold it, but the only way I've gotten through it and been able to, I mean, talking to my therapist, yes, that's someone who can help, but even that is a private process, right? Like, therapists don't fix you. Therapists don't do anything that you are not engaging with, right? They cannot come in and fix your pain. So even talking to my therapist is me kind of talking to me. And yeah, it's just a really like private thing, healing your trauma and integrating your trauma and learning how to move forward in your life after grief and pain. And so I empathize, like I feel the pain of some of the people commenting at me during this. And I empathize, but like I can't do anything for you. I really can't. You know, if you don't, first of all, if you don't like my sense of humor, I get that. That's not for everybody, man. That's not for everybody. And if you don't like me or my content, like, you don't have to be here. That's the beauty. If you want to move through your life with more healing, I really recommend learning to, if something isn't a match for you vibrationally, if something even triggers you and is upsetting to you vibrationally, or how people speak, or what their attitudes are, or what their sense of humor is, the more you can learn to kind of release those things from your life gracefully, the more you will access your healing. Does that make sense? Like, when I don't fuck with somebody, I just don't give them energy anymore. If there's a creator I don't like, I mute their stories or mute their stuff. Like, you could block me. Like, that's how you move through your healing journey that I recommend. That's what I've found, is like, you can release that chaotic energy gracefully and just move towards what you want. Listeners, do you feel frightened by your own finances? Do you feel disorganized, or are you lying to yourself that you are disorganized with your finances? Does it overwhelm you to think about saving money like it did for me for years? You know, they say you should be like saving whatever, 10% of your paycheck. And that just frightened me. I'm like, I can't save anything. I need to have it and spend it and live on it. No, turns out we can save money. We can budget ourselves. A big part of that is realizing that all of us have subscriptions out there that we are paying for that we don't use. We don't need those subscriptions. We forgot they're on. We got that free trial of that photo app on our phone, and then we forgot to turn it off. We downloaded that thing one time, forgot. I started playing a video game that required a subscription, forgot. Rocket Money helps find and cancel your subscriptions easily. It helps you track your spending, budget your life, save more, and lower your bills. I'm a huge fan. They are the sponsor of today's pod. And since using Rocket Money, I have found multiple subscriptions that literally I couldn't even remember signing up for. I didn't even know the email that was attached to it. I've saved hundreds of dollars already. On top of the interface just helps me keep my money in front of me. I know what's coming in. I know what's going out. I know what bills are coming up, and I can see kind of like my net amount right there. It's just really helping me keep everything organized. I don't know why I thought I could do it in my head so long. So listeners, it's time to grow up your finances and do it the easy way with Rocket Money. They make it easy for you. It's inexpensive, and their tools for organizing your money are going to change your life. So if you're ready to change your finances in 2024, head over to rocketmoney.com/growingup, support the pod, and support your own finances. Love you. It's a really strange experience having it come at me in this way when I know who I am. I'm not confused at who I am and what my values are or what my intentions are. I made a mistake. I addressed it. Like I don't even want to rehash it here because I addressed it fully when it happened over a month ago. And look, this is a part of the cost of doing business for me. Pursuing my dreams is in the public life. And being in the public life means people will project onto you. People are going to project things onto me. That is just part of being in the public dimension, right? There's the reality of me in the world, like a tangible human being here. And then there's just this image of a guy on a screen, and people can, you can project whatever you want. So I know it's the cost of doing business, but man, this is a strange one when my friends, family, you guys who listen to me and know me, and I know who I am, and then there's like this chunk of people who have this narrative about me. And something else that concerns me right now. So there's this kind of crazy philosopher, thinker. His name's Marshall McLuhan. He was kind of in like 60s, 70s, 80s. His big contribution to thought in the world was this phrase, the medium is the message. And kind of how he expands on that. There's different mediums that we engage with. Technology is a medium. And what he was kind of cognizing was the technological mediums that we engage with as humans, they touch us back. They're not in a vacuum. Us engaging with technology changes us and how we interact with ourselves and each other. And he kind of predicted a lot of technology and what was going to happen to society as a result decades ago. And if you read his stuff or hear his lectures, he's pretty spot on. So I think about this when it comes to like TikTok. Like there's this thing that's happening where the medium of TikTok is affecting people. And what I see is a lot of people are not developing their opinions. They are hearing an opinion from a little snapshot on social media and then just taking it as reality. And not only taking it as their reality, but the reality. Like, this is the belief that everyone holds, and this is truth. An example is on Ned's pod. There's this, I think because someone said it on TikTok probably, there's this opinion out there that I see in comments that all you guys do on Ned's pod is talk about sex. Oh, so gross. You guys are gross. All you do is talk about sex. That is factually not true. Like, it's factually not true. We have 60 episodes of Ned's pod out there. Go listen to all of them. Yeah, we talk about sex some of the time. Daniel, Lindsay, and I are open adult friends, and sex is a part of life. And also, for many of us, a pretty big part of life. Whether it's getting it, not getting it not the way we want, whatever our personal deal is around sex. Like, we all got fucking hangups with it, right? So it's a part of adult life. So us talking about it on Ned's pod, that's the adult survival guide, people, right? It's a part of adult life. We don't shy away from it. And Lindsay especially runs right headfirst into it. But I see it now. And I know what it came from. It came from we had some clips that went viral about sex, and then some fucking, articles about it. And now people have chosen to take on this opinion without actually questioning it. All you guys do is talk about sex. No, we don't. You don't listen to the podcast. You actually don't listen to the podcast, because no, we don't. There's not one episode where all we do is talk about sex. Absolutely not. It kind of comes up organically in our conversations, and we usually move on to other things. So that's an example of you got to be really careful with this medium of TikTok and social media, because you might just adopt an opinion that isn't based in reality. And that's really my concern in all of this. Like, I value truth and reality and touching what's actually going on in this life and my life. And you have to like choose that. You have to work for that. You have to have like media literacy and critical thinking. You have to question things. You have to search for the actual reality, right? You have to choose this thing. Or you can just go through life picking up all the opinions of this medium of TikTok, which is like everyone's brain and projections. Like we're in everyone's mind together now on TikTok, and it can be maddening and you can get lost. So you'll pick up these opinions that aren't based in reality, and that's just gonna move you further from your life. It's gonna move you further from your own heart, feelings, journey. Like, oh, fuck, man. That's why that phrase, touch grass, is so legitimate. It's so legitimate. And I need to do it sometimes. I got to get the fuck off social media and like, you know, go skip a rock on a lake and be like, oh yeah, I exist in the present moment. And a lot of this life is up to me and how I choose to operate, not what other people do and say. And who I choose to let into my life, and what energies I choose to let into my life, and what accounts I choose to follow, right? Like, this is how you move through your life. Oh, man. It's been a weird one. And I I really don't want to have to explain humor to people, but here's the narrative around this recent canceling. If you missed all of this, by the way, welcome. If you missed all the context of what I'm talking about, sorry, but I can't get fully into it. But one of the opinions that people have just picked up, like I see a lot of comments saying it word for word, which it means I know people have just adopted this opinion from someone else, which is, you make fun of people, you make fun of victims for, you make fun of sexual assault victims. That is so wild, man. That is so far from reality. That is not what happened. That's not what occurred. I made a joke. Part of jokes, when you say a dark joke, the reason it makes us laugh is because we all know it's wrong. That's why it's a joke. Does that make sense? And if the joke's not for you, I get that. Like literally, I get why this situation occurred, because there is a time and a place for jokes, and we were way off on the time and the place. The place was TikTok Live. That was not the place. That was a private time joke. The time was literally the day Quiet on Set was released, and we hadn't watched it. So we were way off on time and place for that type of humor. And I knew it immediately. It's in the clip that went, like, it's in the clip where I immediately after the joke, I was like, fuck, shouldn't have been joking like that. But this narrative that people have adopted, you make fun of victims of sexual assault, like, absolutely not. And no, if that happened to you, do I think it's funny? Of course not. Of course not, man. No, it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart how common it is. It breaks my heart how often I have to hear stories like that. It's devastating. No one's making fun of you for that. And if they are, that's a problem. But that's not what happened. I can't believe people have adopted that opinion. I can't choose your opinion for you. So like, I mean, you're allowed to think it. But coming on all my shit and commenting it, I just don't. What is it doing? What is it doing for the issues? What is it doing for your healing? Like, what is it doing? It's not true anyway. Yeah. So strange. So strange. And like I said, it's the cost of my public life. It's the cost of doing business and talking publicly and joking publicly. Oh, listen, I know that joke was ill-timed. Oh my God. But like, we make mistakes, man. Like, I can't hold on to it. I really can't. It's well over a month ago. Like, I'm moving forward. You know what I mean? And as for like, we're like over a month now out from the Quiet on Set documentary as a whole. And, you know, we put out a Ned's Pod episode addressing everything, but that was raw. That was a raw episode. If you watched it, man, that was like me, Daniel, and Lindsay, fresh off watching the documentary, fresh off the vulnerability of people feeling like we were insensitive to it. And then fresh off of my life is closer to that documentary than any of yours. Like, I know these people. I'm in this industry. I was on this network. It's still been a lot to process, like how that occurred and how much pain there is involved in this for all of us. Like, I was on the network, and I grew up with those shows. And I feel like we all, after watching that documentary, feel like a part of our childhood that was good and pure and funny and joyful is now tarnished. And that is hard to process. Makes me really sad. Just to note, our experience on Ned's, thank God, was not like that. Because we had adults who were really looking out for the kids on set, like actually. And I feel very grateful to those people for that. I feel very grateful to Scott Fellows, who created Ned's, for the environment he created on set. It was genuinely, like, we were genuinely looked out for. People who made kid actors uncomfortable on Ned's were fired. And as I kind of reflect on this documentary, man, I'm really troubled by who Dan Schneider seemed to be as a boss. Like, yeah, when I think of my own experience on Ned's, it is hard for me to imagine something like this happening. It really is hard for me to imagine because I know how we were looked out for. And just the culture that it seems like Dan created as a boss, like he's responsible for a lot of this. He should feel responsible for a lot of this. When you are acting in your life, when you are acting out of integrity, like chaos can enter. Yeah, you might have not directly invited it in. You might have not directly have seen it happen, but like the creator of a show, the executive producer, sets the environment on the set. And I thought the documentary did a really good job at laying out the environment that was created with him at the helm. And I know not everyone had that experience of him. I know some people really enjoyed working with him, of course. Like, that's that thing of everyone's experience is not the same, right? People can experience a lot of different people a lot of different ways. But overall, I thought that documentary did an amazing job at laying out what environment he created on set and what his kind of priorities were. And it wasn't looking out for kids. It wasn't looking out for the kids who were making him successful. And that I don't know. I struggle with my feelings on that. Like, it's really devastating. I feel for all my fellow kid actors, and everyone who went through this. Man. Yeah, so I'm just really bothered by that. And I think a lot of us are. I think a lot of you are. You know, if you're the boss in a situation, then you create the energy, then you create the boundaries, then you create the environment. And you have to be responsible and aware and diligent with that, especially when it's with kids. And the fucked up part about Quiet on Set is that, unfortunately, this happens everywhere that kids and adults overlap. It's so devastating. This happens in churches. This happens in the Boy Scouts. This happens in doctors' offices. This happens in schools. If an adult has bad intentions and they're good at hiding it from other people, like, this happens. But the darkest part about it happening on children's entertainment television is that people are creating a show to bring children joy. And the kid actors are literally doing everything they can to succeed and please the adults around them so that they can have this opportunity. And that being taken advantage of in this way, I think we all feel heartbroken about it. Like, taking advantage of a kid's dreams like that and not protecting them when they are in an adult environment, a set. You're in an industry, you're in a business, you are a working child, and kids can't look out for themselves. You cannot look out for yourself. It has to be the adults. It has to be the parents, but it has to be the adults on set too. And I know there's a lot of people out there pushing for more protections for children on set, and I mean, that is what has to happen. There has to be more safeguards. Yeah, and it makes me think about like my mom was very diligent navigating me through this industry, very protective. And if you're a parent out there and your kid is gonna get into entertainment or any type of field that they are engaging with adults kind of in a intimate way, it's like, I don't want you to go through the world with fear and paranoia, but you have to look at the reality. You have to face reality, right? Even you guys in your real life, like, we have to balance as we move through this life, right? Too much fear and paranoia that we're looking out for, we're not going to have a good life either, right? We're going to be isolated. We're going to be anxious. We're going to push people away. It's going to be crazy. But also, too much rose-colored glasses, too much optimism, too much giving people the benefit of the doubt, you're going to get into trouble, because not everyone deserves that. Not everyone deserves the benefit of the doubt or your optimism. Some people you need to look at just clearly, and steer clear of some people. Steer clear of even getting close to some chaotic situations. And this kid acting industry, unfortunately, because it's also can be so fun and alluring and exciting and like dreams. This is following our dreams. So you can just kind of open up to it and feel like, oh, wow, it's all happening. And unfortunately, there's people out there who take advantage. And so I don't know. I'm still processing all my thoughts on Quiet on Set and just feeling immense gratitude for my experience and immense heartbreak for Drake and everyone on those sets who shared their stories. So I don't know, man. That's what's been swirling around all in my head. And sometimes I don't want to talk about it publicly. And sometimes I do. And I have this podcast. And I thought I could maybe use it to speak through some of this stuff. I really appreciate you listeners who send me really compassionate messages and who feel like they gain something from this podcast and the Ned's Pod. I really appreciate you for resonating with what I'm doing and what I'm creating, because I really try to show up to this life with my heart and with care and with fun and joy and silliness. And the silliness got me in trouble, and like that's okay. I accept that. Like accept that. You know, we have to learn our bounds by making mistakes. That's okay. But I've really gotten so many messages from a lot of you beautiful people out there that I'm like, oh yeah, I'm okay. And like, there is an audience for who I am and what I do. And I appreciate that. And not everyone's going to be down. And that's also okay. I don't love people holding a version of me in their heads that is so far from reality. Like that's a surreal and uncomfortable experience. But also, like I said, part of the cost of being here. Yeah. So, lastly, I'll kind of say, I sort of shared, I've been going through this process, and I think, do you ever have the experience where like it feels like inside of you, you have like 5 different wants and needs that are pulling you in different directions? I've been having this experience with this kind of grief cycle process I've been in, where I'm realizing I think a part of adult life that is so difficult is that we are carrying our inner child with us. And not just our inner child, but our inner teenager, our inner adolescent. And they each have different emotional feelings and needs and responses to situations. And sometimes, probably often, they're different. So my inner child's feelings and response and needs are one thing. The teenage self has different needs, wants, feelings. And then my adult self has different needs, wants, feelings. And I'm trying to integrate and give them all space. And I'm learning that part of our adult growing up, part of the real fucking growing up, is that we have to parent our inner child and inner teenager. We have to walk ourselves through the rest of this life. Nobody can do it for you. My mom can't even do it for me. My mom can no longer parent my inner child. I have to. Part of what has gotten me through the last few months is these moments where I realize I just have to acknowledge that my inner child is feeling vulnerable and scared and just wants to be seen and has feelings about where I'm at in my adult life and the things that have gone on. And I have to, as adult Devon, as man Devon, I have to go, hey, bud, like, I see you. And it's okay. Walk with me. We're going to be okay. We're going to get through this, man. Trust me. Like, I know you're feeling. I know you're hurting. I know you're scared. I love you. I got you. Come with me. It's a lot, man. It's a lot. I've had this experience recently where my inner child and my teenage self have been like arms crossed on the stairs. I'm not moving. I'm not going any further into this adult life. I don't want to. There's too much confusion. There's too much pain. I miss my family. Like, there's this part of me that's been just posted, upset, hurting. And I'm having to say, hey, yeah, I see you, man. Come with me. I got you. Like, and I have to feel those feelings too. I have to like honor what I'm feeling. And I think that's why a lot of us struggle in adult life is we don't kind of realize that like we need to have space. And if it's not in therapy, you need to find some space where you let your inner child and inner teenage self express themselves. Because they're in there. They're fucking in there, man. I don't think any of us get to avoid that, or our inner child dies. And then you see those adults sometimes, like just dead in the eyes. And I get them now, and I empathize with it. Because it's hard to carry a child and a teenager in your adult mind and body. It's difficult because they have different feelings. They're hurt easier, like they're irrational, right? Or whatever, or they're just young. They're just young. And as we mature, we have to take responsibility. That's how we get through. Yeah. So I'm integrating all that. It's a kind of ever-evolving process, and I really invite you into that space as well. And like, it's non-linear, man. I didn't choose for this shit to come up. It started in the fall, and I didn't even realize it was happening. And I didn't even realize I was running from it. Wasn't chosen. It wasn't conscious. But I started to notice, here's when I know I'm going through something, is when like answering an email takes so much of my energy and I put it off for a week. Like when simple tasks take so much energy from me, I know, oh, fuck. Something's going on in me that I don't even know. And it takes work to get in there and find what it is. So, yeah, I really wish you all well in this process of growing up. It is way more difficult than people talk about. And the transition from your 20s to your 30s, late 20s into your 30s, that's when you become your adult self or like fall. It's harder than I feel like anyone has ever told me about. And I don't know if it's like this for everyone. This could just be my experience, but I doubt it. I doubt it. So, yeah. The good thing is you're not alone in what you're feeling. It's up to you to feel it and integrate it and accept and move with it. So it is yours to hold. It is your solitude. It is your life. But you're not alone in what you're experiencing. All of us are going through it. Like there's more people than you know feeling what you're feeling. And that gives me a little bit of hope and solace that like this is my human experience. This is the human experience. So let me work with it and not feel like I'm broken. Yeah. So thanks for being here. Yeah. I don't know. I'll see you in the comments. I'll see you on the messages. I'll see you in a couple weeks. Yeah, that's it. Bye.